The following presentation was made possible by the Alltech Media Group, a Southern California multimedia company providing exponential branding and marketing services to all their clients. The Alltech Media Group understands the value of the 3W strategy, providing their clients proven, trackable results. Let us make it easy for you to grow your business. Visit alltechmedia.com.
Hello and welcome to SoCal CEO Magazine. I'm Jeff Allen. My guest on this segment is someone I think you're really going to enjoy. Mr. Ja Marr Brown is a keynote speaker, author, and consultant who's also credited with generating hundreds of millions of dollars in sales revenue throughout his 20-year career in the healthcare industry. He's an advocate and instructor of Kaizen to help individuals and organizations reach their fullest potential. Ja Marr is also the editor of Successful Physicians Monthly Online Magazine and the author of 2 books, including What's Your Sales Story and his latest release, You're Ugly, an attention-grabbing title, but a book with a powerful message for children and their parents. Ja Marr Brown, welcome to SoCal CEO.
Jeff, thank you very much. Good to be here.
It's good to see you. You had a humble start in life. You're the picture of success now, but you've come a long way. Let's talk a little bit about those humble beginnings and how you got to be where you are.
Well, Jeff, I grew up in San Diego. A lot of people think that San Diego is America's finest city, which it is, but I didn't grow up on the finest city side of San Diego. My parents didn't have a lot of money, and there were times we were struggling as a young child. I grew up in an area, and I don't want to say it was terrible, but there was definitely a big element of drugs, gang activity, and violence that I was exposed to, but my parents at a very young age taught my brothers and I to really look at life differently. And there's a quote by Dr. Wayne Dyer which states, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So even though I was surrounded by gang activity and drugs and violence, my parents instilled in me a sense that life and the world is much bigger than what you see in front of you. And if you pursue your education, if you learn as much as you can about life and about business and about yourself, then the doors will open up and the world will reveal itself to you, and you can achieve whatever you want to achieve in life. And my mother, also instilled in us a strong sense of family values. And one of the quotes she used to say is, the role of a parent is to ensure that their child's life is better than their own. And so with my dad showing us the doors, the education could open, and my mom having such a strong sense of family values that she instilled in us, despite all the things I saw around me, I always knew that there was more in life to achieve and accomplish, and so I was never negatively affected by what I saw in front of me with the drugs and the gangs and the violence.
So you had some great teachers from the beginning, and a lot of kids growing up, despite the great teachers, end up yielding to temptations irregardless, but that didn't happen to you. So then let's talk about getting through school, getting past those obstacles and entering corporate America. A challenge at your time, a challenge now for a lot of young people, but let's talk a little bit about that in your life.
Well, because I had such a strong sense of education growing up, I was able to get into several different colleges. One of the biggest decisions I ever made was deciding to turn down athletic scholarships to go to Whittier College and pursue academics. And people thought I was crazy for doing that. Why would you turn down full rights to play baseball or football at different schools to go to a college called Whittier that I'd never heard of and pay $22,000 a year and attend that school? And it was because growing up, I was never impressed with athletes. Not that I have a lot of respect for athletes, but for me, when I would see a gentleman in a business suit, that was more impressive to me than seeing someone that was an athlete. And so I wanted to be like the business person versus the athlete. And so the decision for me to go to Whittier College instead of other schools and pursue academics was a perfect decision for me. And I got into school. I was the president of the Black Student Union, made the dean's list, ultimately became student body president of the college. And then I was recruited by Allergan Pharmaceuticals to be their first summer intern, and that's how I got my start in healthcare. And so those decisions that I made turned out to be the perfect decisions for me, as a young person.
Now, you were with Allergan for how long? Because you altogether have about 20 years in the healthcare industry. And that is not small potatoes. Allergan, one of the largest, of course, in their industry. So how long were you with them, and where else did you go from there?
Well, it's funny, when I say I've been in the business world, well, in healthcare for 20 years, but in the business world it's been about 24 years, people say, how's that possible? You look, so young. And I say, well, I worked at Allergan Pharmaceuticals, makers of Botox and Juvederm, and they hand that stuff out like water. I'm just joking, but Allergan was a phenomenal company. I spent 13 years there, and I started as a summer intern when I was in college. And 10 years into the company, I was the regional sales director for the West region, managing over 130 people, $250 million in sales, the same kid that was, just a few years prior to that in San Diego in this humble environment. So that's how many years I spent at Allergan. Then I was recruited by a company called C.R. Barr to be the manager of their West region, and that was a medical device company. And then I was recruited by Oasis Medical to be their VP of sales. And I spent about a year and a half at that company, and then I decided to pursue my entrepreneurial ventures that I'm doing now.
So that's the next question. Someone who's found so much success in corporate America and in the healthcare industry in particular, and we all know that that's a multi-billion-dollar industry in this country and around the world, billions and billions of dollars. You found personal success, and you decided to walk away from that and do your own thing. What allowed you to go ahead and take that step and become an entrepreneur with your own business and find your own success?
That's a great question, and I've been asked that question a lot, and some people thought that I was crazy when I made some of the decisions that I made, even leaving Allergan, when I was such a rising star at the company, or leaving the medical device industry, or leaving my position as a VP of sales. But for me, life has always been about pursuing your full potential and about enjoying your life. And one of the reasons why I think I've been able to maintain such a youthful outlook on life is because I've always enjoyed my career. I was never someone that was negatively affected by the politics of the business world, or by the hard knocks of certain things that happen in business. To me, it was always about learning and growing and becoming the best Ja Marr Brown I could be, and that's something that I learned at a very young age. And so when I was transitioning from corporate America, it was because of that. It was because I had such a tremendous experience, but I felt that there was something more for me to accomplish. There was something more for me to give to the business world and to life. And it's sort of like everyone has this song that's inside of them. And it starts off very quiet. And over time, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And some people choose to press that song down. Other people they embrace it. And to me, the song is to reach your full potential, to be the best person you could be, to let your gifts and talents shine. And so my transition was, there was nothing wrong with corporate America. I enjoyed it. I'm even going to write books about how to help other people enjoy it as much as I did. But then there was something calling me saying, Ja Marr, there's something more for you to pursue, and that's what I did.
Kaizen.
Yes.
Methodology or philosophy or both. There are a lot of self-improvement methods out there. There are a lot of life coaches. There are a lot of corporate coaches. Tell us about your involvement in Kaizen and about your organization and how you help others.
Well, the name of my company is the Kaizen Way, and people say, what does Kaizen mean? And it means continuous improvement, and it's a Japanese term that's used around manufacturing, which really talks to their production methodologies, and it's all about how do you achieve more with less. It's about making small changes that equate to big results. And years ago, when I first got into the corporate world, I was a pharmaceutical sales rep, and I thought I was going to be God's gift to sales because I was student body president of my college, and I was this great intern, and so my ego got to me, and I thought I was much bigger than I really am, and I was put into a sales territory that was ranked second to last in the country, and I told everyone I was going to be salesperson of the year, my first year. Well, 2 years into it, guess what? I was at the bottom of the rankings, ranked 93 out of 98, sitting in front of my boss, and he was telling me, Ja Marr, I think you're burned out. I don't think you're cut out for this, for sales, and I think you should look for another job. And if you don't improve your sales results, I'm going to help you do that by firing you. And so there I was at 21 years old, thinking I was going to be this great corporate raider, and I'm at the verge of getting fired. Well, I went back to my roots, and that is education. And I started reading books, and I read a book on manufacturing, and the word Kaizen was in there. And I thought to myself, all the things I talked about in terms of continuous improvement, how do you become your best self? How do you eliminate what gets in the way of your success. And I applied that term Kaizen to my life and business, and I spent the entire life writing out these principles of Kaizen. And there are three of them. One is the relentless pursuit of excellence, and that is trying to define what you really want to do in life and pursue that relentlessly. The second thing is to eliminate wasteful thoughts and behaviors, and that's what gets in the way for a lot of people, and that is, it's not about doing more, it's about what's getting in the way, what's not working for you. And at that 21-year-old, at 21 years old, there were a lot of things that I wasn't doing right. My ego was out of control. I thought being in business was all about making money and getting promoted. I was willing to do anything that it took to move up in business, and it wasn't working. I didn't have the right mindset, and I wasn't doing the right things. And the third principle of Kaizen is continuous improvement, and that is putting together a daily plan for improving. How do you become a better Jeff or a better Ja Marr every day? You should ask yourself every morning, am I a better person, a better parent, a better husband, a better spouse, a better business person today than I was yesterday? And if you could do those things, then I guarantee success will happen very rapidly. And so I apply Kaizen to my life in sales, and literally after almost being fired, the following year, I was salesperson of the year. Then I got promoted to sales training, the youngest trainer in the company. Then I got promoted to marketing while I was in charge of a brand that was generating $250 million in sales. Then I became a sales manager and turned a team that was in last place to #1 in the country and won sales manager of the year. And I taught them these Kaizen principles. Then I got promoted to regional sales director. So I've used Kaizen throughout my entire life. And so to me, it was a natural transition to take what I learned in business with Kaizen and say, you know what, I can teach this to, instead of a sales team or an organization, I can teach this to thousands of people if I start my own company and base it on these philosophies. And that's exactly what I did.
Ja Marr, as a consultant, what is your main focus?
The main focus for our company, the Kaizen Way, is really all about empowering people to reach their full potential. And that's individuals and organizations, or individuals in their own personal professional lives. And so we work with different healthcare companies, physicians' practices, insurance companies, any organization where there's a strong focus on people. And our organization goes in and we do what's called a root cause analysis, and that is whatever business challenge that they're faced with, we like to get to the root of the problem. It's like going to the doctor and you say, you know, this hurts, and the best doctors can find out exactly what is really happening and diagnose an issue at cause, not at the symptom level. And that's what we do through the process of Kaizen, which is uncovering what's getting in the way of a person's success or business's success, and we go on and apply the whole idea of relentless pursuit of excellence, you know, defining what really they're trying to achieve, cutting out what's not working, and then putting forth a daily plan for improvement. And so we've worked with different organizations in healthcare, insurance companies, small business owners.
And you work with individuals too, not just the organizations themselves.
And individuals, and sometimes, you know, that is where it starts, at the individual level, you know, because any organization is made up of individuals. And so yes, we do work with individuals. We also work with corporations and other organizations. And so the results have been astounding. People can go on our website and look at some of the quotes that people have left about, you know, the Kaizen Way and our approach. You know, just go to thekaizenway.com and they'll see firsthand that the type of work that we've done for organizations that have really transformed their ability to be successful as a company.
And so you've practiced this, you've found the success that you've had, and obviously the use of Kaizen has allowed you to take on some other projects. And one of those projects you've taken on is Successful Physicians Monthly online magazine. And this is a new venture for you and something you're really excited about.
Extremely excited about it. Successful Physicians Monthly is a partnership between myself and Alltech Media. And my roots are in healthcare. I enjoy healthcare. I think that there's a lot of stories in healthcare that don't get told that this magazine allows to be told. And essentially what Successful Physicians Monthly is, it's a high definition online streaming video news magazine where we highlight success in healthcare. And by success, it's not necessarily which doctor's making the most money, it's about which doctors are really making a difference for their patients, which hospitals and foundations and medical clinics are doing things that are giving back to the community in a way that has never been done before. And so it highlights the positive side of healthcare. And through this venture, we've been able to interview some of the most incredible physicians and hospitals and clinics out there that are literally changing the lives of hundreds and thousands of patients every single day, and we tell their stories through this magazine.
So it puts a real positive light on the healthcare industry at large, but also too on the providers in the area that you feature, that you focus on, and information as well. And to anybody who would be interested in seeing some of these interviews and some of these stories at Successful Physicians Monthly online magazine.
Absolutely, and they could go onto the website successfulphysiciansmonthly.com, log in. They can sign up to receive the magazine, and I think it's going to really be a catalyst for really showing what's good about healthcare and the people that are dedicating their life and their energy and their time towards making their communities better.
We're really excited for you about that new venture, Ja Marr, and this comes right on the heels of your 2 books as well. You've got not one but 2 books. Let's talk about your first release. What's your sales story?
Okay. Obviously,
born out of all the success that you've had, and a little bit about some of what's contained in between the covers there.
Well, what's your sales story? I kind of call it self-help for salespeople, and it really chronicles my story of going from, when I mentioned earlier, at the bottom of the rankings, nearly getting fired, to ultimately becoming Salesperson of the Year. And unlike a lot of sales books that want to tell you the 10 habits of this, the 5 habits of that, I believe that there really are no 10 habits or 7 habits, because each person is different. What was affecting me and holding me back from my success is different from 100 other salespeople out there. And so when I wrote the book, I said, let me just tell my story in all of its detail, not so much, how to make the best sales call, but what happens to a salesperson when they go home at night and they think that they were going to have a great day and things didn't work out. What does a person tell themselves when they're alone? And so my book talks about all the ugly and dark things I did when I was struggling and trying to present a happy and successful Ja Marr, but I was on the verge of being fired. So I tell my story, and the book is designed to allow other professionals to tell their story within my story. And at the end of each chapter, there's questions in there that allows the reader to go in and say, well, what is getting in the way of my success? Like one of the chapters is about the ego and how a person's ego can either help you or hurt you. And it has the reader reflect on their own ego as it pertains to sales.
So this isn't a one-size-fits-all template for success. And no offense to Stephen Covey, the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but this is telling your story and giving people some things to think about as they're kind of evaluating their own lives in their own professions.
Exactly. Like I said, it's really about uncovering what is happening in that individual's life that is either helping them or hurting them in terms of being successful. And so to your point, and I've read hundreds of sales books, and I think there's something that can be learned from each one of them, whether it's Covey or anybody else. And this is just a different twist. It's, if you really want to do some self-reflection and really want to understand what's holding yourself back from your success, then this is the kind of book that you want to read.
Lastly, Ja Marr, what I'd like to talk about is a book that stopped me in my tracks because in title only, You're Ugly. And I took no offense to that. I've been called worse by my wife, but let's talk a little bit about You're Ugly. This is a book that was born out of your childhood, some of the lessons and things that you learned. Mm-hmm. And this is a great book because it's not only helpful to adults, but particularly to kids as well, to entire families.
Jeff, the book You're Ugly really came out of a passion of mine for helping children. I didn't set out to write a children's book in 2013. It was an idea that came to me, and I decided to go ahead and do it. But essentially, I was given a presentation to a group of professionals called the 7 Pillars of Distinction. And in this talk, I discussed the 7 things a person can do to become an individual of distinction in their life. And the last thing is the story of this little boy who gets called ugly as a child. And we've all been called names. I'm sure you can remember being called a name. We've been calling somebody a name. And it talks about how we can be affected deeply by the words of others. And this little boy grows up thinking that he's ugly. But he tells himself, if I'm ugly, then I better be smart and I better be a good athlete because people are never going to like me for my looks. So he goes on to be a very successful professional and business person. And then one day he looks back and he realizes that being called ugly was the best thing that could have ever happened to him, because if he hadn't been called ugly, he wouldn't have become a great student and a great athlete and gone on to achieve things in business. And it's kind of based on my story, which that's actually what happened. And so I told this story to this group of professionals, and I had about 10 people walk up to me after the program with tears in their eyes. And I said, "Ja Marr, I'm so glad that you told that story. You really helped me out a lot, because I've been dealing with the trauma of being called ugly or fat or stupid or whatever in my childhood, and I've lived with it all these years, and you've finally given me a new perspective to allow me to get rid of this negativity that's been building up over the years." And I was like, And I didn't know that there were that many people that were affected by verbal bullying. And then when you look at all those stories on the news about kids that are committing suicide, or that are depressed, or that are now retaliating against bullies and going to schools with guns, I said, I really have to do something. But my philosophy is not about beating the bully, because I think you're going to have bullies from now till kingdom come, right? But it's about changing yourself. It's about building your own self-confidence and your own self-esteem, so that you're not affected or negatively affected by the words of other people, and they actually inspire you. And so this little boy in the book, used that negative situation and turned it into a positive one. And so that's what the book is all about, to help children see it differently. There's also a section for parents, which provides 7 things a parent can do to help build confidence and self-esteem in their child, so that their children aren't affected by the negative impact of being verbally bullied. And that's what You're Ugly is all about. And I'm hoping that it really either changes the lives of children and adults, or helps people see what can happen when we don't allow other people's words to stop us from reaching our potential.
Ja Marr, for anybody who's interested in either one of these books, where can they go to get them?
Well, they can go to my website, jamarrbrown.com. The other site where You're Ugly is housed is lulu.com, that's Lulu. Amazon, Barnes & Noble online, and so it's widely available. So there's a lot of different outlets people can find the books.
You're a remarkable story in your own right, and you have a remarkable story about how successful that people can become if they just put their mind to it and using those powerful influences around them. Ja Marr Brown, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet.
The following presentation was made possible by the Alltech Media Group, a Southern California multimedia company providing exponential branding and marketing services to all their clients. The Alltech Media Group understands the value of the 3W strategy, providing their clients proven, trackable results. Let us make it easy for you to grow your business. Visit alltechmedia.com.